be very prestigious women in the church. They do anything from opening up the doors to cleaning up the restroom. They do a lot. And you see them on Sunday mornings. They come in, they're dressed nice, they're smiling. But we really don't know everything that they have really been through during the week. I've selected some first ladies that I want to share their stories, where they come from and where they are today, so that you can glean and you can see the awesome things, how God can take a life and he can make an example on how you can still live your dreams and live your life on purpose. So I'm here today with Pastor Allison Henderson. How you doing?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Awesome. I am wonderful. Glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here.
Yes. Thank you for having us.
Amen.
Last year was a phenomenal First Ladies event in 2013.
Wow.
You were one of our honorees, and you got a scholarship. Just so many great things happened last year. Awesome. So you're finishing up. Yes. So it's going to be Dr. Allison.
Got Dr. Aliceson.
Yeah. Now, that's what I'm talking about. But before all of these things took place, and we're going to talk about some of your successes, and we're going to get a chance to see some of those as well.
Okay.
But let's talk about where you come from. Before you even became, the Mrs. Henderson or the Pastor Henderson, where did you get your start from?
Well, I was born in Chicago.
Ooh, it's cold there.
Very cold. My mom was a teen mom.
Okay.
She had me born in Cook County Hospital.
Okay.
When she had me, I was addicted to crack.
Wow.
So I was a heroin baby, born addicted to drugs.
Wow.
She was addicted to drugs since before I was born. So when she had me, my grandmother, she wrote my name on a paper and called my grandmother and told her she needed to come get me.
Wow.
She had her own choice words, you know how people do.
Yeah.
She told her to come get me. My grandmother came and got me and raised me. My mother I thought was my sister up until I was like 10 or 12 years old.
Wow.
And finally, when I learned that she was my mom, she was still on drugs and alcohol. Didn't really understand the whole concept of it. Teased every day because the kids knew what their parents were saying.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at, okay, I don't know what y'all talking about. I don't know this lady. So finally, when I got the story, it broke me down and it made me not want to do what my mom had done.
Wow.
And it made me not want to be, a lot of times people say, you're going to be like your mom. You're going to be just like her. So I made it a point in my life that whatever people said, they would not stereotype me.
Wow.
I made a decision that I would not leave my children. We would not be put out. I would never be on drugs, never smoked a cigarette, never drank alcohol, and never been on any type of drugs.
Wow.
So that's where I got my start. Went on from there.
So grandmother basically took you from the hospital and she raised you. Did you have any other siblings?
I have two sisters.
Okay.
That my grandmother raised. We had a brother, but my brother died.
Okay.
But my grandmother raised me and my two sisters. My sisters got a bigger part of the drug exposure.
Okay.
Because they were with my mom longer.
Okay.
Later on in life, they came to live with my grandmother. After she had been incarcerated, then the state had no choice but to give them to my grandmother and my grandfather.
I think it's important to share, excuse me, I think it's important to share that part of your story, simply because I was watching a movie. I can't remember the name of it, but it was with Jennifer Hudson in it, and she had a son, and the mother was addicted to heroin, and she left her son there to care for himself for a whole summer.
Wow.
And when she came back into his life, she was like, well, where have you been, that whole time? And he said, basically, he had been taking care of himself, but watching the struggle and watching, a young man, basically the age of 11 or 12, possibly 13, fend for himself. Having a grandmother, how important was that for you not to have to go through some of those difficult times that could have been?
Major. Very important. Because if she wouldn't have been there, God knows what I would be. I could have been on drugs and alcohol. Back in the day, prostitution was really heavy.
Yeah.
So my mom done all of that. My sister followed in her footsteps.
Okay.
So I know
What it is.
what it's like to be pushed off. Although my grandmother didn't read well, she didn't write well, so I learned to read at 4 years old so that I can help her cash her checks.
Wow.
So I always been a go-getter. And I know that God placed that in me,
Yeah.
so that other people, when I start having children, I train my children. You got to get out there and you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
In all honesty, I ain't saying go sell drugs. I'm not saying go live these crazy lifestyles. But what I am saying is trust God and do what you gotta do and make things happen.
Yeah.
And I had to learn that because my grandmother was older, didn't read or write, and I had to step up and be an adult at 4
Yeah.
and 5 years old. So even in that, if it wasn't for her.
Yeah. You also talk about, when we had a conversation before about being in Chicago, and even today, we know Chicago, some parts of it is very, very rough. You know, you see a lot, you hear a lot, and actually where you grew up, you know, tell us a little bit about the area where you grew up.
The west side of Chicago.
West side.
Wow, yeah, west side. There's a lot of drugs and alcohol. There's a lot of murder. I remember times when they would tell my grandfather, they'll come by, the dope boys will come by and say, y'all may want to take this to the basement because we finna light it up out here and we'll knock when we're done. Well, my grandfather was the type of person, he would sit on the porch and go to sleep. So the boys would come by. We didn't, in Chicago, we don't have gates to separate. You got gangways. So anybody can walk through your gangway. So the way our home was set up, they walk through our gangway and all we hear is the gunshots. We come out and the body's just kind of laying there. Wow. It's a rough area, rough place to live. I remember taking one of my friends there and the police was in the alley and they had found a person's body behind our house. And she was like, please just take me home. She began to just shake. And I'm like, oh, this is normal.
See, this
that was life for me.
Yeah.
I was used to that.
Yeah.
But what I didn't allow was myself to become affected by what I lived in.
Yeah. Being a kid, how could you be so strong? What was the foundational point at that time? Were you raised in church?
I was raised in
so you had the foundation of
I
God,
had
and that's
the
what kept
foundation.
you. That answers that question.
I was raised in the church all my life.
Okay.
But I ain't been saved all my life.
All right. Been raised but not saved all your life. Convicted and living the life of Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Being a first lady, we know that it comes with a lot of responsibility. It comes with a lot of preconceived notions that this is what you're supposed to do, this is where you're supposed to sit, this is where you're supposed to park. How was that transition, and what time did you meet your husband, and at what time did you become his first lady?
Well, my husband and I, we've been together for 18 years.
Ooh.
We've been together for 18 years.
Wow.
And,
congratulations.
Thank you.
Some are not making it 2 years.
Yeah, that's true. That's
okay.
real talk right there.
Yes.
With us, once we got together, he was an alcoholic.
What?
Yeah, Pastor PJ was an alcoholic.
Okay.
And sometimes people hear his story and they're like, oh my God, he really used to drink like that.
Yeah.
And I would go to church and he would still be at the house.
Wow.
And then finally I would say, you know, this ain't gonna work.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to church and I want a better life. You can't lay here on the couch watching the game with your foot down. We gotta do something.
Yeah.
So finally he decided to go to church with me. Little did he know, now his mom raised him up in the church until he was 16.
Okay.
His mom just said, you know, after they get a certain age, I have to let God do what he gonna do.
Amen.
So during that process, Pastor went to church with me, and he decided that he was gonna join. Little did he know that God had some brothers there to raise him up and speak a word into his life. And then he accepted his call.
Was that in Houston or was it in Chicago?
It was in Chicago.
In Chicago.
Yes.
So both you guys are from Chicago.
Yes.
And then you transitioned here.
To Houston.
Was he a minister pastor then?
He was a minister.
Okay.
In the church.
Okay.
He was a
So he got
minister.
convicted and filled and all that.
All
back
that.
in Chicago.
Yes, all that. Who would have thought that God would take us from Chicago and bring us to Houston to fulfill destiny?
Yeah. Yeah.
So when we got to Houston, we went and sat under a prominent ministry. Was there for 3 years. God had told Pastor, gave him a prophetic word and told him that he was going to raise him up. But he had to go to a specific place to get what he needed to be imparted into him. We did that, and we obeyed God, and that's the key. You got to be obedient.
Yeah.
Because if delayed obedience is still disobedience. And we delayed for 3 years, and we reaped it.
Yeah.
But now we're in our place of purpose and destiny.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's so important. But it comes from having to go through something and having to be processed. So you saying you've been married 18 years, you went and served in the ministry 3 years, so literally you've been a first lady. How long?
I've been a first lady for 7 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
7 years.
Year of completion.
Yes, now I'm ready for the new beginning.
You ready?
I'm ready for the new beginning.
Well,
yes.
Mother prophesied, last night,
Perfection. And I
double
yes.
perfection.
His word declares
yes.
that he'll perfect all that concerns us.
Yes.
So it's just now manifestation time.
Yeah.
I'm ready for the perfection. That's it. I'm ready for the perfection.
So being a first lady here at the ministry, what does that mean to you?
It means mom.
Okay.
It means mom.
Mm-hmm.
I'm responsible for helping my husband meet the requirements of God.
Wow.
That's my responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And along with that responsibility comes me being a leader and an example to the young ladies and the young men that come into these buildings. Pastor can minister to the brothers, but who needs a wife? I have to minister to the wife.
To be that example.
To be that example. That's what I have to do.
This year, here at the Gathering of First Ladies, our theme is honoring the friends of Naomi. And when I think about just saying that and comparing to what you just said, your statement, Naomi was that mother, was that mentor to Ruth that showed her the way, that didn't want anything out of it. She had nothing to gain and nothing to lose.
That's right.
And that's what I see the first lady. I just get teary-eyed just thinking about it. But that's how I see the role of a first lady, being a Naomi, that you're guiding young women that may never come back and say thank you.
That's right.
They may never come back and say I appreciate you. And you're mentoring women who may even have pursued your husband. I mean, that is the going thing in the churches. It's the real talk of first lady.
Been there.
And what you dealing with.
Been there.
Done that.
Done it. Wrote the book.
Let's talk about the book. Tell us the title of the book.
Fake sex, real consequences.
Ooh. Fake sex. We just had somebody pass out on that one. Fake sex, real consequences. What is it about?
It talks about my life story, and then it goes into a part where I'm mentoring other women, anyone that can read the book. Okay, it talks about the abandonment. It talks about the life of having a mother that's drug addicted. It talks about my self-esteem, how it was below the floor. Sometimes we say to the ground when I was below the ground. Okay. We wear the mask. Pastor Henderson is my second husband. So I was married to a pastor before Pastor Henderson.
Shut up.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay. So with
not
that,
shut up.
No,
but.
I understand. Yeah. So with that, it taught me how to treat him. Yeah. Because the first man that I thought when I was moving in my flesh, he treated me like crap. Okay. So my self-esteem was below the floor. Yeah. I didn't know who I was. I was busy trying to be somebody else. Somebody that I didn't even know. Okay. I was trying to compete with people that I didn't even know. So being a first lady once, and now first lady twice. That's right. Wow. And now, the book tells you how you can get from being in a place of low self-esteem to learning to be celebrated only and never tolerated. Yeah. And that's my motto. That's what I teach the women when they first come to woman to woman. Yeah. I teach them always celebrated, never tolerated. You have to know when you're in a tolerated relationship or any relationship, that's with friends or male species. You have to know when you're being tolerated. And that book just kind of puts it out there, to tell you to take off the mask with a real you please thing. Because sometimes we can wear a mask. As a first lady, I done wore a mask many years. I go across the country singing, and guess what? After the song, when the music stops, can I live the song? Yeah. I was sung, yes. Yeah. The people can shout. But at the end of the day, can you like that? You talk about the mask and the mask of a first lady, and while they think it's a mask, a lot of people can see through the mask. They can see the hurt, they can see the pain, they can see the frustration. All of that propels because it comes from the heart. That's where you are at that time. Looking at you today, I see a fulfilled woman. I see someone that's very happy, someone that understands who they are in the body of Christ and who knows their purpose. Tell us, how did you get to that place? A lot of prayer. A lot of prayer. And what I did was I find the person to glean